Good morning, students. Today we will be resuming the second chapter of your honeycomb textbook, A Gift of Chappals. So let's get right into it. Mridu crept up to the window. Now, crept up means walked sneakily or in a way to hide herself. Lali was sitting a little distance away, awkwardly holding her violin and bowstring, her elbows jutting out and her eyes glazed with concentration. Now, I'm sure most of you have seen what a violin looks like, and the bowstring is the thin piece of string attached with a piece of wood or whatever the material the violin is made of, which is used to play on the strings of the violin. In front of her, with most of his back to the window, was the bony figure of the music master. He had a mostly bald head with a fringe of oiled black hair falling around his ears and an old fashioned tuft. A gold chain gleamed around his leathery neck, and a diamond ring glittered on his hand as it glided up and down the stem of the violin. Now, gleamed means well shined, as it is used here, and glided, as it's given, means moved along smoothly. So it means to say that his hand was moving smoothly up and down the stem of the violin. A large foot stuck out from beneath his gold bordered vesty edge, and he was beating time on the floor with a scrawny big toe. Now, vesti means dhoti in Tamil. He played a few notes. Lali stumbled behind him on her violin, which looked quite helpless and unhappy in her hands. Now, stumbled means followed haltingly. What a difference! The music master's notes seemed to float up and settle perfectly into the invisible tracks of the melody. It was like the wheels of a train fitting smoothly into the rails and whizzing along, as Ravi said. Mridu stared at that huge, beringed hand moving effortlessly up the violin stem, making lovely music. Now, in this paragraph, they're trying to draw the contrast between the playing of the violin of Lali and the music master. It starts by saying how the violin looks unhappy and helpless in Lali's hands, and in stark difference, how the music master's notes seem to float up and settle perfectly into the invisible tracks of the melody. Like Ravi had said, if you recall correctly, that it was like the wheels of a train fitting smoothly into the rails and whizzing along. Now, beringed is used to signify the fact that the music master is wearing a ring, hence, beringed hand. Now, let's continue. Squawk! There was Lali, derailing again. Amma! Came a wail from the gate. Amma! Oh! Ravi, send that beggar away, cried his mother from the back veranda, where she was chatting with Tapi. He has been coming here every day for the past week, and it's time he found another house to beg from, Pati explained to Tapi. So, now we have the arrival of a beggar who, according to Pati, has been coming here every day for the past week, and she has had enough of him. Mridu and Meena followed Ravi out. The beggar was already in the garden, making himself quite at home, which means he was getting very comfortable in the garden. He had spread his upper cloth under the neem tree and was leaning against its trunk, apparently prepared to take a little snooze while he waited for the alms to appear. Now, a snooze is a short sleep, a short nap, if you will. And alms are what people give to beggars when they come asking for them. Go away, said Ravi sternly. My Pati says it's time you found another house to beg from. The beggar opened his eyes very wide and gazed at each of the children one by one. The ladies of this house, he said at last, in a voice choked with feeling, which basically means he was saying what he was saying, full of feeling, are very kind souls. I have kept my body and soul together on their generosity for a whole week. I cannot believe that they would turn me away. He raised his voice. Amma, Amma, oh. Sad his wail might be, but it certainly wasn't feeble. It began in a deep, strong rumble somewhere in his withered belly and came booming out of his mouth, with its few remaining teeth stained brown with betel chewing. Now, kept my body and soul together is basically another way of saying that he has managed to stay alive. And he says that he has managed to stay alive on the generosity of the ladies of the house for a whole week, and that he can't believe that they are turning him away now. Now, a wail is like it's a cry basically. And here the writer is trying to tell us how his wail might be sad, but it certainly wasn't feeble, or like it wasn't a small or quiet cry. Now, let's continue. Ravi, tell him there's nothing left in the kitchen, called Rukumani. And he's not to come again. Tell him that. She sounded fed up. And fed up means tired and unhappy. And it would seem that Rukumani has become tired and unhappy of the beggar coming time and again. Ravi didn't have to repeat it all to the beggar. What his mother said had been easy for them all to hear. There, under the neem tree, the beggar sat up and sighed. I'll go, he said wearily. Only let me have a rest here under this tree. The sun is so hot. The tar has melted on the road. My feet are already blistered. He stretched out his feet to show large pink peeling blisters on the soles of his bare feet. Now, a blister is a boil or a bubble on the skin which forms from burns or rubbing. And the beggar is requesting the children to let him have a rest under the tree as his feet are blistered from the hot tar on the road. And he even goes so far as to show his feet to the children as justification. I suppose he doesn't have the money to buy chappals, Mridu whispered to Meena Ravi. Have you got an old pair in the house somewhere? I don't know, said Ravi. Mine are too small to fit his feet, or I'd have given them to him. And his feet were larger than Mridu's and Meena's. Now, the children are concerned after seeing his feet blistered, and they are trying to find chappals or like an old pair of chappals to give to the beggar. And Ravi, whose feet are larger than Mridu and Meena's, says that his feet are too small to fit the beggar, like too small in comparison to the beggar, sorry, and that his chappals would be too small to fit the beggar. Now let's continue. The beggar was shaking out his upper cloth and tightening his dhoti. He raised his eyes and looked fearfully at the road, gleaming in the afternoon heat. He needs something on his feet, Meena said, her big eyes filling. It's not fair. Big eyes filling means they were filling up with tears. She was tearing up. Shh, said Ravi. I'm thinking about it. blubbering. It's not fair, isn't going to help. In 2 minutes, he'll be frying his feet on that road. What he needs is a pair of chappals. So, where do we get them? Come, let's search the house. He pushed Mridu and Meena into the house. Now, Ravi tells Meena to stop crying and to start looking for chappals with him, as just crying that it's not fair that the beggar doesn't have chappals is not going to make the fact that if he doesn't get some, he'll be frying his feet on the hot tar of the road. So he drags Mridu and Meena into the house to search for chappals. Just as she stepped on into the veranda, Mridu's eyes fell on the odd looking chappals she had noticed when she arrived. Ravi, she whispered to him, whose are those? Ravi turned and glanced at the shabby looking but sturdy old slippers. He beamed and nodded. These are just the right size, he said, picking them up. Mridu and Meena followed him nervously back into the garden. So, when the children are looking for chappals to give the old beggar, they chance upon the old, odd looking, chappals that Mridu noticed when she entered the house initially at the beginning of the chapter. And she asks Ravi whose chappals those are. Ravi, without worrying about the ownership, sees that those are just the right size to fit the beggar's feet and picks them up and goes into the garden with Mridu and Meena following him nervously. Here, Ravi said to the beggar, dropping the slippers in front of the old man. Wear these and don't come back. The beggar stared at the slippers, hurriedly flung his towel over his shoulder, pushed his feet into them, and left, muttering a blessing to the children. In a minute, he had vanished around the corner of the street. Now, flung is another word for thrown. And here, the author is trying to tell us how the beggar, at looking at the chappals that he has been given, hurriedly throws his towel over his shoulder, puts the chappals on, and leaves as soon as he can, muttering a blessing to the children. Now, let's continue. The music master came out of the house and took an unappreciative look at the three of them, sitting quietly under the tree, playing marbles. Unappreciative here means disapproving. And basically, he looks at the three children disapprovingly. Then, he searched for his chappals in the veranda where he had put them. Ah, see, now we know who the owner of those odd looking chappals were. Lali, he called after a few minutes. She hurried up to him. Have you seen my chappals, my dear? I remember having kept them here. Ravi, Mridu, and Meena silently watched Lali and the music master search every corner of the veranda. He scurried around, which means hurried, and he's looking for his chappals in a rush basically. Looking over the railing and crouching near the flower pots to look between them. Brand new they were. I went all the way to Mount Road to buy them, he went on saying. They cost a whole month's fees. Do you know? So, Lali and her music master are searching for his chappals, but they can't seem to find them. Soon, Lali went in to tell her mother. Rukumani appeared, looking harassed, with Pati following her. Where could they be? It's really quite upsetting to think someone might have stolen them. So many vendors come to the door, worried Pati. Rukumani caught sight of Ravi, Mridu, and Meena sitting under the tree. Have you children? She began, and then, seeing they were curiously quiet, went on more slowly. Seen anyone lurking around the veranda? Now, Since Lali and her music master can't find the chappals, Lali goes in to call her mother, who then appears outside, looking troubled, with Pati following her. Now, Pati expresses concern over the fact that the chappals might be stolen. Rukmani sees the three children sitting under the tree and starts asking them if they have seen anybody lurking around the veranda, which means waiting quietly while attempting to not attract attention to themselves. But on seeing them very quietly sitting under the tree, she slows down. A sharp V shaped line had formed between her eyebrows. Another, straight, tighter one appeared in place of her usually soft, pleasant mouth. Rukmani was angry, thought Mridu with a shiver. She wouldn't be so upset if she knew about the poor beggar with sores on his feet, she tried to tell herself. Taking a deep breath, she cried, Rukmani, there was a beggar here. Poor thing, he had such boils on his feet. So, we can understand from these lines that Rukmani has come to the conclusion that the three children, Ravi, Mridu, and Meena, are responsible for the disappearance of the chappals. And Mridu realizes this after seeing the sharp V shaped line that forms between Rukmani's eyebrows and the straight, tight line appearing in place of her usually soft, pleasant mouth. And Mridu, to try and console herself and to reduce the fear of Rukmani's anger, tells herself that if Rukmani knew about the poor beggar and his sores on his feet, she wouldn't be so upset. Now, let's continue. So, said Rukmani grimly, turning to Ravi, you gave the music master's chappals to that old beggar who turns up here? Children these days, groaned Pati. Amma, didn't you tell me about Karna, who gave who gave away everything he had, even his gold earrings? He was so kind and generous. Silly, snapped Rukmani. Karna didn't give away other people's things, he only gave away his own. Now, Mridu cries and tells Rukmani about the beggar and his boils on his feet. And Rukmani expresses disapproval on the fact that they gave the music master's chappals to the old beggar. And Ravi, to try to appeal to his mother, questions her about her telling him about Karna, who gave away everything he had, even something as precious as his gold earrings, owing to the fact that Karna was so kind and generous. But Rukmani snaps that Karna didn't give away other people's things, only his own, and that Ravi trying to justify his actions with the story of Karna was incorrect. Now, let's continue. But my chappals wouldn't have fitted the beggar's feet, Ravi rushed brashly on. And Amma, if they did fit, would you really not have minded? Ravi, said Rukmani, very angry now. Go inside this minute. She hurried indoors and brought out Gopu Mama's hardly worn new chappals. These should fit you, sir. Please put these on. I am so sorry. My son has been very naughty. The music master's eyes lit up. He put them on, trying not to look too happy. Now, Ravi, again in an attempt to justify his actions, tells his mother that his chappals wouldn't have fit the beggar's feet, so he gave away the music master's chappals. And then he asks his mother that if in fact his chappals did fit the beggar, would she really not have minded him giving them away? Rukmani, reaching a very high level of anger now, tells Ravi to go inside the house this minute. And she also goes inside and brings out Gopu Mama's hardly worn new chappals and presents them to the music master in replacement for the chappals given away. Now, the music master's eyes light up, which means he gets very excited seeing the new chappals. Let's continue. Well, I suppose these will have to do. These days, children have no respect for elders. What to do? A Hanuman incarnate. Only Rama can save such a naughty fellow. Rukumani's eyes flashed. She didn't seem to like Ravi being called a monkey, even a holy monkey. She stood stiff and straight by the door. It was clear she wanted him to leave quickly. Well, the music master accepts the chappals, puts them on, and passes a comment on Ravi, comparing him to the monkey god Hanuman, and saying that only the god Rama can save such a naughty fellow as Ravi. But Rukmini does not seem to like her son being compared to a monkey, even though the monkey he was being compared to was holy. And she stands stiff and straight by the front door, making it clear that she wants the music master to leave quickly. When he had clattered off in his new chappals, which means gone off noisily, which could be due to the noise of the new chappals, she said, Mridu, come in and have some tiffin. Honestly, how do you children think of such things? Thank God your Gopu Mama doesn't wear his chappals to work. As she walked towards the kitchen with Mridu and Meena, she suddenly began to laugh. But he's always in such a hurry to throw off his shoes and socks and get into his chappals as soon as he comes home. What's your mama going to say this evening when I tell him I gave his chappals to the music master? And now, as the music master clatters off in his new chappals, Rukmani's anger seems to dip. She tells Mridu to come inside and have some food and marvels at the fact that the children thought of such a thing as giving away the music master's chappals to the beggar without even asking. And she starts to see even the funny side of the story and begins to laugh at the fact of how she's going to have to find a way to explain to her mom, to Mridu's mama, sorry, not her mama, Mridu's mama, in the evening about where how his chappals have been given to the music master. Well, with that, we come to the end of the chapter. I hope you all understood the chapter